Hi moms, thank you for joining us today for the live session of Instagram and Facebook. Today we'll be talking about baby care in winter, and I have with me Dr. Sanjay Wazir, who's a renowned pediatrician. I'm sure a lot of you might know also, and he's an expert in answering all your baby care questions. So it's a live session. Don't hesitate to pop in all your queries, and we can ask him live. We've asked a lot of few questions in the past, and we'll start taking them up, and meanwhile you can drop in all your questions. So, sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Winter's almost here and there's a chill in the air. So what do you think are the basics that we should keep in mind while taking care of our babies in the winter?
Yeah, when we look at very small babies, they have very limited resources to fight the cold. So meaning that they have a very limited resources of adipose tissue or brown fat, which is responsible for generating heat. So we need to be careful about maintaining the temperature, but at the same time we don't really want to get overboard with the fact that they are small and they need to be overcovered, because overcovering can actually lead to increased incidence of something called SIDS, and which is contrary to what most people tend to do, is like they put piles of clothes on their children. So it's important when you take care of your children, you maintain them in a room which has you maintain the temperature of the room, and you maintain it somewhere around 23-24. And if you maintain a temperature of the room around 24, then you don't need to overcover the baby, and at the same time you're not worried about being very cold. Or at the same time, when you go out, for example, when it is very cold, at that time wearing one layer of clothing extra than what you're wearing is a sensible move.
And considering the winters get really very chilly, so how do we maintain the temperature in the room? There's a lot of question around blowers, heaters, oil heaters. So do you have any suggestions on those?
So again, what I would recommend people to buy is a simple device called a room thermometer, which you will get on Amazon or somewhere, which is around 100 or 150 rupees, and just keep it in some part of the room where there is no direct draught of air coming in, that to maintain to record the temperature. And then if the room gets really warm, then you can switch on the AC, but in case the temperature starts dipping below 23-24, then you can switch on the heating devices. Now when we come to heating devices, there are three kinds of heating devices which most people would know of. One is the heating devices, the rod heaters, which is like, and then there are blowers, and then an oil heater or the fins. Among that, all can heat up, but they also cause dryness. And the dryness levels are maximum with the blower because there is a continuous draught of air. Then they are slightly lesser with the oil, the rod heaters. And the best is to use an oil fins because they are the radiator oil radiators. Those are the ones which cause the least amount of humidity to drop, and which is important for breathing the good quality air as well.
And how important are humidifiers to be kept? Is it important
So human respiratory tract or the lungs contain a lining which is moist. So if it is become very dry, it tends to accumulate a lot of dust, and then there is a mucus which is continuously being produced, and if it is moist inside, it moves further and takes out the bacteria or all the foreign material which gets into the respiratory tract on a day-to-day basis. So if the humidity becomes very low, as you would probably see in a very chilly winter, and you start breathing a couple of times, you start feeling the chill inside. So then that dryness can impact. So you would probably want to maintain a humidity somewhere between 30 to 60%. And the easier way to is like to use, if it is very chilly, use any kind of a humidifier in some part of the room. And heaters and humidifiers do have different functions.
So both can be used together.
Should be used.
You mentioned about dryness, skin dryness in children because of heaters or overwearing. So what does a mother do to keep the baby's skin moisturized? Because dry skin is a concern that we've started hearing a lot now. So what do you think? How do you keep the baby's skin moisturized?
So it's important to look at the baby's skin, and every skin obviously is a different type, so you can't really have one generalization for all the babies. But at the same time, you also would want to have general principles. So if it's very cold, at that point of time when you find that the child's skin is chapping or something, one that the water temperature for bathing should not be very very warm, and it's like, so what we tend to do is like very warm water, and then that causes dryness. And the best is to dip your finger into the water, and if it is not feeling very cold and very hot, then that's the right temperature. You try to give a bath when it is during like summer between 10 to 3, and when it is sunny, and give it not in the bathroom but give it in the, like, for a very small area inside the room. So and in the center of the room, so that the radiation heat loss does not happen. So these are some of the things that you can take care. But it also would be prudent for you to use some kind of a moisturizer in addition to taking care of this particular aspect of bathing. And for using a moisturizer, sometimes you just may want wet your hand and then just apply it on whichever part of the skin you want to moisturize, and then apply moisturizer thereafter. And you could use a couple of times depending on the level of dryness you are anticipating or you are probably seeing. The whole idea of using a layer of water is to retain that moisture between the skin, and the moisturizer doesn't allow the water to evaporate, and the skin remains supple for a longer period of time.
It locks in the water.
Yeah.
So then, is it?
And one more thing you probably could do is like add a few drops of bath oil or coconut oil or like any oil for that matter which you're using in the water for bathing, because then it when you're drying, also at that time there's some amount of oil which.
So then, if the water layer skin, is it advisable to not completely dry the baby after a bath and directly apply moisturizer? Does that also help?
Yes, as I said, you could do that, but the areas which are very very dry, like they may need to extra moisture them, for that particular purpose, but not as a routine. But especially when the areas which are folds, where there are folds, for example, the axilla or groin, for this thing, they need to be completely dried. Otherwise, they will develop a fungal infection.
Okay, and what do you recommend in face care? Like a lot of babies get very dry lips. The lips get chapped, and then that irritates them. Sometimes I've seen even blood coming out of the skin. What do you think one should do with that?
Yeah, so babies are voracious eaters, because they have to drink every couple of hours, so their lips are continuously in motion, and they're striking either against the breast or the bottom.
Yes.
So that's why this tends to cause a little bit of dryness. What we generally recommend, like you could probably, there are a couple of things that you could use, and the whole idea is to moisten the lip as much as you possibly can. And one is use a humidifier, so that the surrounding around the baby is a little humid and it's easier for the child to not get chapped. And you could even use a hind milk. The fore milk is the first part of the milk, and the hind milk is the one which comes later part. So that has a little bit more fat compared to the fore milk. So you can use that directly under the baby's lips, and that's like because, and you can even use a ghee or a butter, like and just apply on the thing. Or you can, nowadays you get petrolatum jellies, and most of them you have lip balms now for babies as well available in the market. So you can use. The whole idea is to moisten and keep it moistened, and depends upon the level of dryness which is there in the winter. At that time you can use it.
So I'm getting questions from moms about that they have concerns regarding massaging. So because it's winter is going to start, it's going to be chilly, and while massage the babies get without clothes for a longer time. So do you think they should massage in winters, and what oil and if any tips regarding massaging the baby in winters?
Yeah, so again, that applies both to the massaging and to the bathing. First thing you need to see whether your child is liking it or not liking it. If the child is not, liking the whole effort of massaging, then you can hold off. There is no great benefit in terms of like massaging.
Should force him.
Force him to do this, And so, but if he enjoys, that definitely improves the bonding and the blood circulation. But that can't come at the cost of the child not liking it. But the second thing is that do it like when you do it, you could do it part by part. So whenever we do recommend, how do we bathe children in the winter areas, like hilly areas, to say okay, you do part by part. So you first uncover only the chest, and then and then you can do the arm, and then you can do probably the legs, and not do all at one time. And second part of the story is that do it during the when it's reasonably warm. So suppose today is very windy and very cold. I mean, you can skip that day particular. You don't necessarily need to do a massage every day.
Yeah.
But if it is warm today, and then you can raise the temperature of the room by keeping your room a little warm with a heater or oil heater or whatever you're using. And once the temperature rises and it's a comfortable zone, and then you can expose the child and give a massage. And third is that you do not need to necessarily do a oil massage all the time. Kinesthetic stimulation, like moving the limbs, and just like this is what you call a dry massage, or flexing the muscles, stretching the muscles is an equally good way to handle like massage during winters. So you could do that. As far as the oil is concerned, you could probably look at any oil that you're comfortable with. Oil does not percolate into the skin, so it only facilitates the whole process of massage. So it's like it reduces the friction between the skin and the hand, so that the skin doesn't get really chapped and damaged. But in winters, we generally say, okay, coconut oil does tend to get a little, frozen, like, so we use some other massage oil. And personally, like, mustard oil, people have a preference for it, but in my practice I've seen it's like, it tends to cause more rashes. So it's like, that's not one of my favorites to recommend to the parents.
And so what is the main purpose of massage? Is it just blood circulation, or also muscle strengthening or bone strengthening, etc.?
No, so if you talk about the scientific development, so what scientific research, so what massage does is it like facilitates this blood circulation, because when you're pressing against the skin and rotating your palms around it, the circulation in that particular area goes down, and it's like the circulation from the blood from the brain goes a little lesser, so it makes the person calmer. So the way we get a massage and then you feel relaxed about it is because the blood circulation goes to the lower part. It does not improve the strength of the bones or the muscles, as most people commonly believe it to be. But it also improves the bonding between the parent and the child, because the child becomes more calmer and feels more secure in the vicinity of a parent or like the caregiver. And also there is some data to suggest that it improves your mind development, because you tend to be more calmer and you're more relaxed, and your brain development, which is happening at this time, tends to be slightly better compared to the babies who are like not given massage. But the difference is not huge, which means that if the child has a rash coming up, or he doesn't like it, you're not going to miss on huge.
And eczema is something that I wanted to also dwell into. Eczema, what is eczema, and how does winter come in when we talk about eczema?
So atopic eczema is almost seen in almost 10% of children at this age, between 0 to 2 years, and many of the children you would have probably seen, like their cheeks are kind of red, and some of them may have fractured the skin around, and some of them may actually have a water coming oozing out of there, and they're itchy, and some may have problems in the folds, whether it is in the arm fold or the leg folds. And these are babies who are typically the ones who have an atopic eczema. Now with the winters coming up, the same principle, because the skin does not remain moistened, the eczema becomes worse, because those cracks open up more, and then they don't dry up soon. So the eczema worsens during the winter months. And one of the ways is to use a liberal quantity of moisturizer. And if it doesn't work, then sometimes you need to use a steroid or a non-steroidal cream to get the eczema under control.
So I think the key too for skincare is moisturization and
for sure.
hydration.
In the winters, you probably can't do without it.
Yeah. And how the frequency of bathing, I want to go back to it. Like you mentioned, massages you can skip. You don't need to do it daily. Is it okay if we skip bath also, or make it like once in 2 days?
Once in 2 days is a reasonable care where you are actually looking after the hygiene also, and not making the child uncomfortable. But once the temperature is like rising, because that kind of weather where you need to do that is probably going to last for a month or so. And otherwise till 15th December in Delhi, you probably will have reasonably good weather, to do a daily massage. But after that, till probably 15th or 20th January, you probably have a chill wave, and that's where you need to be.
And about 3-4 years old can go once in 2 days, or no, older should?
I mean, at least like after 3 years, they should probably take a bath every day, because what is more important, because 3 years, 4 years children do tend to play out in the parks also. They tend to get dirty also. They need to, and their hands are dirty, and this is, so for them a daily bath is probably, which I would recommend it to keep the hygiene levels better.
And a little bit about hair care. So does dandruff become common during during winters, and how do we deal with it, if at
Yes,
all?
so again, like the part of the dandruff, some people have a genetic predisposition to develop dandruff, and then part of it is compounded by the presence of fungal infection, which tends to get like worse during this time. So yes, if you have a dandruff, cradle cap is a common thing which is in children. You may choose to treat it, or you may choose not to treat it, depending upon your own preference about.
You can choose not to treat it?
Of course.
It goes away on its
own. It goes away on its own. You need to, from a medical point of view, we tell parents to treat it only if it is causing rashes, because sometimes the flakes, they come around the the eyebrows or the face or behind the nape of the neck, and there they tend to cause a little bit of a reaction and a redness, and the children become a little itchy, and then we say, okay, take out the source of that part of the dermatitis.
But how can we avoid it? How can moms avoid dandruff or cradle cap?
I mean, this so people oil their head and then with the understanding that once you bathe, the flakes are going to come up. Unfortunately, that's not, using a shampoo is a better way to keep the thing under control. So you probably could use shampoo once a week, at least, or once or twice in a week, to get the dandruff under control.
And how often should one shampoo kids' hair, babies?
So as I said, once or twice in a week.
Once or twice in a week. And this goes up to what age group?
At least till 4 to 6 months, and then and by 1 year of age, they can probably take it daily.
Take it daily. So shampooing daily is not a problem.
No.
And so I'm getting some questions from moms on diapering. Like in winters, there's chances of diaper rash is high. So how can you prevent or treat diaper rashes, and how frequently should one go about changing diapers?
So whenever you have, there are two aspects to it. One is the prevention of the diaper rash, and the other is the treatment of it. Now, prevention is that you need to understand that any diaper, whatever they may claim, there is always a limit to the absorption of the diaper. So it cannot be a super material which can last for couple of hours, 8-12 hours. So what I recommend generally to the parents is to change the diaper after 3 to 4 hours on an daily basis, or whenever you see. But don't wait for the diaper to become full and then change, because by the time it becomes full, it is already loaded with water and the urine, and then it's going to contaminate the skin and irritate the skin. So it's a good idea to actually use and change it every 3 to 4 hours, irrespective of whether you probably find it full or not. Second part is to use a diaper cream. The most people want to use a diaper cream when they have a rash. So it's a good idea to use a diaper cream as a preventive therapy, especially in winters, when sometimes you probably may find yourself to be a bit lazy to change the diaper, or sometimes the peeing rate, the number of pees the child is doing, is also increases because the evaporative water losses are less in winter. So we also produce more urine, and the children also produce more urine. So use a diaper, but when you use a diaper cream, make sure it's a thick diaper cream. It's not a thin one. And when you apply thick one, it should spread like a layer, something like you see a toothpaste, and if you apply toothpaste, it forms the layer, something like that, so that it acts as a barrier between the urine and the skin. So applying the cream and rubbing it completely does not really work as far as the diaper prevention is concerned. Use a diaper cream with the intent that you are applying it as a layer, which is a protective layer covering the skin, and which does not allow the urine or stool to come in contact with the skin.
Yes. So prevent using a diaper rash cream even when there are no rashes is key, and a cream that is thick and acts as a barrier. Sure. Some moms also use. There are questions around using powder. Do you think it's okay in diaper rashes? Some people use powder so that it dries up, or one should not use it.
No, so till the recommendations are very clear as far as the use of powders are concerned. Powder, silica or a talc, and the cornstarch. Till 1 year of age, you should not be using it. Because it tends to cause silica dust, and silica is a non-biodegradable product. So if it goes inside the lungs, it tends to stay for a small baby. Till 1 year, they say no cornstarch, no talc.
Yes.
And some parents, because of cultural reasons, do tend to use it. For them, I advise that at least go to a different room or and then sprinkle on your hand, rub it there, so that you have already created the dust outside in the room, and then come and apply if you really feel that motivated to use a talc. But first recommendation from a medical point of view is to avoid talc.
Sure. I have a mom asking that my baby's hair is very dry in spite of oiling. What should I do?
So you could probably use so dryness is primarily to do with the skin type. So you should look at whether there is any kind of micronutrient deficiency that you are talking about. If not, then you will use a shampoo, and you can even use a conditioner. Although we have a concept that conditioners only should be used only for adults, but children hair actually also tends to become sometimes dry, and you can use once a week.
You mentioned about some allergy or some condition deficiency.
Yeah, so if say for example, if you have a protein deficiency, or if you have a zinc deficiency or an iron, your hair tends to be very brittle and dry and thick. So if you have any micronutrient deficiency, which your doctor obviously will be able to check, if that is not there, then maybe once in a while using a conditioner.
Okay. And an adult conditioner can be used?
Yeah, but only 1/4 of
I have one more question. Can I use besan atta on baby's skin during bath, followed by soap bath after massage?
So see, these are practices which are more traditional, and I'm not the right person to challenge them. But truly speaking, I've looked at all the literature which is available, and I could not find out any reason for people to use besan or atta or upton. People use it because they think that the hair which is there on the face, they apply and it takes it off. If it was such a simple thing, then nobody would make a hair remover. Everybody would make a besan and upton atta. But and the hair is right beneath the skin, so applying something on the skin does not really help. It is the facial hair and the shoulder hair which the children have at the time of birth would anyway, that's called a vellus hair, and which is different from a permanent hair. Most of 90% are able to get rid of this by 1 year of age. So irrespective of whether you use besan or atta.
It doesn't do anything to baby's hair. No?
Nothing. But but
I did that to my baby also. Good to know I wasted all the hours.
But that's how, as I said, there's tradition and firm belief on one side, and there's science on the other side. Somewhere our job is to amalgamate.
Yeah. There's one more question as to can moisturizers or skincare products tend to darken the baby's skin? Like a lot of times we have said you feel that my baby was, after I applied this particular product, he's turned dark or was born fair, or do babies actually skin color changes as from when they are born to later?
Yes. So that's the most common question I also face, because one, that is in our country we are obsessed with fairness, and on the other hand, when you look at a baby, when the baby is born, his skin is very thin. So at the time of birth, most babies would look pink and bright, irrespective of whatever their ultimately skin color is going to be there.
Yeah.
So whenever they start bathing, or massaging at that time, applying any moisturizer, and by 1 month of age, the tone of the skin changes, because the skin starts to make it thicker, and the blood vessels which were apparent through the light skin doesn't become so apparent. So the child does not look that pink and now starts taking the color which he was destined to, and eventually for 1 year they tend to develop the kind of color which they are genetically endowed with. But in the process you've done so many things, you probably would blame one or the other things. Okay, because I use this and that's why this become. And I've seen people taking bath with milk also, because they think if I apply something as white as milk, maybe the child becomes as white as milk.
Yeah. So there's nothing we can do to change the color that the kids are born with, and they change
just make
colors.
sure that the children are proud of what color they have.
Absolutely. I have one more question. I have a mom asking how to boost hair growth in babies. I'm guessing they have the scalp hair growth is less. So or is there any way to boost it?
Oh, so if there was one, I'm sure I would have used it on myself as well. But this is again, so it's genetically, so some adults have less hair compared to others, and similar for children, the hair growth would become different for different children. But initial part of when the first 3 years, you would see some children have more hair and some children will have less hair. But by the time they're 3 or 4, they start going to preschool. All of children would have the hair till puberty. When puberty afterwards, then male children, some of them would start losing more hair, and they would have typical male kind of a baldness. Now there would always be phase when your the hair actually grows in 3 phases. One is that hair follicles are there, which are static. One is they are falling off, and one is they are rebuilding. So this cycle goes on every 3 to 4 years, and for 3 to 4 months you would probably, for us also, you will see suddenly you see this area will have a lot of hair fall, and then it tends to stabilize. So for children also, they go through the same phase. But what you should be worried about, if you have a patch of hair which is patch of head which is devoid of any hair follicle, that's called alopecia areata. So if you have that, then you need to see a doctor. But there cannot be anything apart from a good nutritious diet and looking after what I said, micronutrient deficiency, which causes, whether it is a iron deficiency or a zinc deficiency, which can be responsible for the poor hair growth in children. But those children also manifest other manifestations of micronutrient deficiency. They have pallor, they have stunted growth, or other features particular to that deficiency.
So yeah, just let them be. They will mature and develop on their own. Moms worry too much, not to worry.
Van Diesel is Van Diesel without a hair.
Without hair, yes. With hair, he won't be Van Diesel. Absolutely. I have one personal question. I'm sure till we get more questions from moms, I have one question. A lot of times, kids itch a lot. There's no particular rash, or we talked about eczema, and I wanted to discuss that. A lot of moms tell me, my child has sensitive skin. You use anything, they'll just start showing rashes. He'll have some outbreaks, which is not particularly dry patches, but just that itching or rash is there. Why do you think that happens, and what can we do about it?
So there's something called a heat-induced urticaria or heat-induced rash. So whenever you take a bath, so you see, so if you are very boiling water or very hot water in winter, and you take a bath with it, and then you feel scratchy yourself, because despite the eczema not being there, your skin so dried up that you actually feel like itching it all the time.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a habit, and because you start enjoying that whole process of itching, and it gives you relief, that the children go into a vicious cycle of this thing. So one, as I said, taking a bath with a normal water, or at least if you see, the last part of the bath, or you take a towel and just put into a normal tap water, not very chilly, and take a sponge the last part with the last part of the bath with that towel, which is not with the regular hot water, that's the regular tap water. So that soothes the skin, it reduces the blood supply, and the histamine release is not there. The itching will definitely become lesser. This would but if you have a rash coming up, then maybe there is a medical condition that you need to do.
And And otherwise, in general, moisturization again is the key.
Of course, moisturization means starting like throughout the winter.
I think with the change in weather, I'm sure a lot of kids, we have some questions coming in that kids are catching cold, kids are catching cough. So how do you avoid that during winter?
So winters is the time when generally peak winters you will not have this problem.
Yeah.
Contrary to what people believe, because when it is very peak winters, even the viruses do not thrive as frequently. And in peak winters, we tend to have very little, like we don't go to each other's house for parties, like we don't have too many unless we go to for a marriage function or something. But it's when there is an onset of winter, when we have like have Diwali for example, we had a lot of parties where people going to carry infection and the children go to school, and then one child passes on the infection to the other. You have that vicious cycle for around 1 or 2 months now, and maybe January or February that you will have that kind of thing. Yeah. So the principle remains simple. One, that if you have somebody who is has a definite cough and cold in the family, don't go to next to the child who probably has an infection or who does not have an infection. And if your child is going for a play date or coming, look after the nutrition. It has to be balanced nutrition so that you have a vitamin A and a vitamin C. So these are the two things which are important from the local immunity point of view. And you need to give a vitamin A fruit on an alternate basis. So green and yellow fruits, like for example, you could have melon, for example, you could have mango is not a winter fruit, for example, but banana, guava, these are some of the things which are like vitamin A rich fruits. So you give it alternate day along with the vitamin C fruits, which could be citrus fruits, which could be amla, which could be gooseberry or amla. You could be like kiwi, you could be broccoli. These are good sources of vitamin C. So they need to be given on a daily basis. They also reduce the chances of cough and cold on a natural diet. Plus, whenever they come from work or somewhere, they would have probably had dust. So giving them a suit or something warm to sit is something which is another way to protect them against the cough and cold.
Are there any more questions? I think it was lovely talking to you, Dr. Wazir.
Thank you.
I think it was a lot of help to a lot of our moms. Thanks a lot for this knowledgeable session. Thank you.
Thank you.